Okay, welcome everybody. This is our May 8th, 2025 town board meeting. And at this point, I'd like to ask you to please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, first I want to congratulate Councilman Sipperly. I understand he's a grandfather again as of a few hours ago. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm thinking that's number 4, with maybe number 5 not too far away. Is that right?
Also correct.
Neighbors. We keep track of you. Congratulations. You're pretty young for that, but all good, right?
We're enjoying it.
That's all good stuff. All right. We'll open the business. Now, normally, we go to the minutes of the previous meeting, which are our regular town board meeting, which was April. This is usually a rubber stamp type thing. And I want to mention that Miss Delgado, Rebecca, does an outstanding job for the minutes. Very timely, very factual, great details. But last month, I had a concern with the April minutes, and I didn't think it really fit that criteria. Now, minutes are very, very important, as you know. And when the minutes came out, visitors who wish to speak, Mary Ellen Adams and Mary Beth Bruno and Jim Tashik. Great details about what they commented about. Mary Ellen was like 50 words, Mary Beth Bruno, 270 words. Jim was over 300 words. And of course, Mary Ellen got back up again for another 70. That's all good. That's all good. And trust me, I'm not here to beat up Rebecca. I'm not doing that. But, and I hesitated doing this, but I had a gentleman tonight. I got home a little early and sat on my back porch with my wife for a change. And Billy Maloney, he's a county legislator, called me up and said, "What the hell is Mike Bailey complaining about?" What? Said I read in the minutes that he complained that you're calling him up and micromanaging him. Don't you pay that guy pretty well? I said, no. That was not the whole concept here. So minutes are very, very important. I just want to mention that last month I mentioned we had internal auditors that we hired to come in and look at our books. Very, very detailed. And I mentioned that our bookkeeper, I like to say controller, Becky Legacy, very, very good. And the auditor, and I said this, if you want to listen to the tape, the auditor called me the next day and said, listen, Phil, I just got to tell you, a lot of these towns change bookkeepers, and it's very, very difficult. Because we get there and they don't know where the records are, and there's no consistency, where here you got consistency. And I just want to give a shout out, compliment to Becky, because everything that we asked for, she had ready for us, and it was stacks. And so we brought 4 people in, we spent a day, and we were able to get through your audit, and everything was excellent. So I mentioned that for the minutes because I wanted my staff, especially at that point, her, to get a compliment or get in the minutes. And as I mentioned, the other speaker, that 300 words, is pretty detailed. And here's these comments. Supervisor Harrington said that the town hired auditors came in last week to review financial records and they're finished in a day. And everybody's saying, what the hell kind of audit is that? Becky's name wasn't even mentioned. Just concerned me a little bit. And, then we had a resident that got up that had a concern because the town clerk's office was closed at lunch for an hour. And I mentioned that the town clerk, as elected official, has control of that office, and she can set her hours, and we don't have control over the hours. And I want to state this month that Rebecca does a good job. She alternates, make sure somebody's in there, the deputy's in there. So that was a little unusual. But what I went on to say was that I don't expect people to be on this board as crazy as I am. I don't have much of a social life, but that's good, it's okay. And I work 24/7, which I love. And that's just the way I was brought up, and that I didn't really expect my staff to be that crazy. But I love the town, I love my farm, and that's my life. So what I mentioned was, and then what happened was Mike Bailey, our highway superintendent, he got up to address the board, and he stated that he could attest to what I just said, that I cared about the town 24/7, and that I called him, and you can listen to the tape, Christmas Eve, which I didn't realize, kind of apologize for that. And I called him many times at 3 o'clock in the morning when I get up and I see it snowing. I said, Mike, you got the crew out, or what are you doing? And Mike got up and just said, I'm happy to work with people, and I mean the whole staff here, that cares about the town and the work as a team. So it was a compliment that he was saying. And the minutes reflect, Mike Bailey, highway superintendent, stated that he is a non-resident and said Supervisor Harrington micromanages the town, calling him all hours of the night. That's not what the whole thing was about. And then the next line is, Supervisor Harrington said that he texts messages his secretary, Tracy Broderick, almost every night after 8 o'clock. So I gave these things to my wife to read, who sits on the couch with me when I'm doing my texting. And Kathy said, you text her when something's on your mind. I'm not trying to talk to her. But so I don't forget, I text her, and when she read this, she says, "These are official minutes of this. Supervisor Harrington does what? The secretary every night after 8 o'clock text." He said, "Please tell," I mean, it sounds not too professional, but tell Rebecca that his wife of 52 years knows that he's texting. I mean, it just, that everything's okay there, it's all business, you know. But these are very, very unusual minutes that I've never seen before. And then it mentioned, you know, that Councilman Christian yelled at a resident that was addressing the board, and a gentleman that had a concern over the town clerk's office that Mrs. Delgazo gently emphasized to him. So you got yelling, you got judgment. Now here's the bottom line. The minutes are a town clerk's responsibility. She can go in great detail with these minutes, or she can give one-liners. That's her prerogative. But she can't, in my mind, do great details on some things, 300 words on somebody, every single thing. And then anybody that knows me, I don't say 18 words or 19. So I just think the minutes need to be consistent. I think it needs to be factual. But what I want to emphasize, because it's very important to me, I would like this month's meeting minutes to please emphasize that our bookkeeper, Becky Legacy, received a compliment, and her main job is the auditors and the numbers. That's very important. This is a big town. We got a lot going on here. And the fact that they came out and complimented her, and her name's not even mentioned here, is not correct. Becky holds a very important position that she does extremely well. So, usually I ask for a motion to approve these minutes, but every single board member up here contacted me, and they didn't think the board minutes of April were really actively balanced. So I'm not going to ask for a motion to approval. So with that, and again, Rebecca has always done a great job. Got these minutes out on time, which is really important. Always done great details. I don't know what happened last month, and I just want to ask that let's get back and make sure everybody has the same coverage. So with that, let's move right into our reports. Town clerk report. Rebecca?
April income. The clerk's office total income for April is $49,329.18. Of that, $2,108.31 will be paid back to the Department of Health, Ag and Markets, and the DEC. $47,220.87 will be remitted to the supervisor's office. Revenue totals, this breaks down to $3,609 in recycling sales, $1,865 in rental fees, that's 9 community center and 2 pavilion reservations, $338 in dog licenses, that's 9 original and 44 renewals, $41,408.87 in miscellaneous fees, breaks down to $452.50 from Vital Statistics, $94.18 from Games of Chance Bingo, $400 from Easy Pass tags, we sold 16, $40,375 from summer camp registrations, we had 69 campers registered this month, and $87.19 is our DEC commission from $1,934.81 in sales. This past month, I've attended the New York State Town Clerks Association in Syracuse. It was an incredible opportunity for professional development and networking with fellow clerks. These types of training help ensure consistency across the state. I earned an additional 12 credits towards my registered municipal clerk certification. The Rensselaer Municipal Clerks Association has also nominated me to be the new treasurer, in which I happily accepted and will be voted in at the June meeting. Summer camp registration ends on May 16th. As of close of business today, we have 101 campers. A friendly reminder, Easy Pass will never call or text you. Please be careful and do not click on any links. Verify the email is valid, or at least it makes sense. The community yard sale at the town hall will be on Saturday, May 17th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Jane Tarbox, the receiver of taxes, and myself will be hosting. Anyone interested should stop by the clerk's office or send an email to townclerk@townofbrunswick.org. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the town clerk's report.
I'll make it.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Mr. Bailey, highway.
Mr. Harrington, I
Yes,
guess I
sir.
owe you an apology.
You owe me an apology?
Yeah, I called you micromanager.
Well, that's
I should
where
have
we
used
all-
the word mentor and friend and supervisor. I didn't like how the minutes were made last month. I didn't mean to offend you. You've been patient with me while I learned this job. You called me all hours of the night, trying to help me, not trying to hurt me, not trying to micromanage me. The whole board has been that way. You're all businessmen. You are thoughtful in your doings. You were careful with your residents. And you've been very careful with me. I appreciate that. I don't need your job. I appreciate your job and I enjoy your job. My last job was about double the pay of this one. I didn't take it because of the money. I took it because I wanted the job and I'm glad I took the job. And I don't like being in the middle of a battle and I don't like being in the middle of a political war. Hopefully I made my minutes better tonight. And maybe it'll be reflected next month like that. I won't take any more time. Thank you, sir. April report, patching is 5 men for 1 day. Recycling poles, 1 man for 1 day. Shop work, 2 men for 11 days. 1 man mowing ball field. Hauling snow sand was 4 men for 3 days. We worked putting a addition on the back of the salt shed to store equipment and stuff on, and also to help preserve the building that you put up 10 years ago and keep the weather off of it. I had 4 men working 5 days on that. We bought a new sweeper last year. We finally got all the paperwork on it all approved, and it's out working now. That gentleman's been out for 4 days running that. It works good. It was a heck of a nice buy. It really does a nice job. Well done. I appreciate it very much. Brush pickup was the big deal this month. We had 5 men for 12 days picking up brush in all different parts of the town for 3 weeks. 2 men chasing them around, picking up bags and other small items. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to mention that rain is killing us the other, as you know, 3 inches and whatever. So when was that? Sunday? I don't even know what day. Sunday night? Was that when you were out?
Sunday night, yes.
Got a call. Mike did 911. Lane staff off of Pinewood completely flooded and it was bad. I mean, it was bad all over. It was raining so hard. I went out. My back deck has an overhang on it. I like to stay there and watch the snow and the rain and all that stuff. 9 o'clock at night, Mike called me. That's what we do. And he says, listen, I'm out. I got a call. I'm over here on Pinewood Avenue. And it's a county road, but he went out anyway, put up some cones, and the county came. And I appreciate that. And this guy got, the reason we hired him, he's got construction background, the Baileys. How many's in your family? 11 kids. Construction, they work, and that's what we do. That's what I wanted. Mike's out at 9 o'clock at night putting cones on a county road. So I just want to say I appreciate that too. So and you went up on South Road because you did some work out there, correct? And want to make sure that was good. But we talk, and thank you, sir. Entertain a motion to approve Blake's report.
I'll make it.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Bradley, come on up.
You better introduce yourself.
Well, I know you've had it easy the last couple of days, I can tell.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Welcome home.
Yeah, I know, it's good to be back.
Yeah, sure.
80 and sunny or rain and cold, I don't know.
Bill's been in California for a little bit of time, so
I have a granddaughter out there, so we spent
that's why we keep Cipperley closed.
some time. Thank you.
That's why we keep Cipperley closed, so don't let his kids travel.
The water and sewer report for April 2025. The Vanderheiden Dam project continues to progress. Temporary bottom drain was installed in April and is now being used to control the water level. That rainstorm brought up the reservoir almost 2 feet in literally overnight. So the volume of runoff that was occurring from, that's a 2 square miles, most of all mountain drains to there, or well, half of all.
I didn't have faith in you there
Yeah.
when you told me it was gonna fill back up.
Yeah, well, we're letting water out.
I know.
We're doing the job, or else we would be full, I would think, you know. The first major pour took place just before I got back. The additional concrete placement has been held up because the engineers are having an issue with where the expansion joints and the water stops goes. I'm not exactly a happy camper with that because that's something that they were responsible for, and that should have been worked out prior to us ready to do the concrete. So there's a meeting tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get the resolution of that, and then get that concrete going again next week, so we can keep this whole thing progressing. They're working with National Grid, you know, as well as you work with National Grid in any of these kind of deals, because the natural gas line there has to be supported on the new structure versus the old structure in order to put the new culvert through for the bridge. So that's taking some haranguing to get all the approvals for that, but they're progressing on that. So we should see more progress there. I'm gonna jump in my notes here. There was a tremendous amount of outreach to the town this week because of drainage issues, you know, between the highway crew and our crew, you know, bouncing around and everything else. Most of them were related to stormwater. We did find that we did have a leak that was contributing to some issues over on West Lane Road. We did that repair, and that was the epitome of a poor installation. There were literally boulders backfilled on top of the pipe, and they laid the pipe on rock, and it wasn't just shale, it was like gray rock. It took us 2.5 hours to chip 18 inches and 4 inches deep, because basically you're just chiseling off piece by piece. So it's pretty miserable. So we've been trying to go around, you know, help people, answer people's questions and everything else, and, you know, make suggestions where it's appropriate for how they can, you know, divert some of the water and things of that type. There's been several residents that also reached out to us that are concerned about the 351 culvert replacement. That culvert's going from a 6-foot diameter culvert to 19-foot wide. And basically what they refer to as stream daylighting. It's a stream restoration project, essentially. So instead of being piped through a culvert now, it'll be just like a stream bed, just going underneath a big, box culvert.
New York State project,
The New York State project.
DOT.
Yeah. There is, from our experience and everything else, there is some concern that maybe the state did not take in full account the downstream impacts when they did this. Because there is a culvert on White Church where the flows, when it did flood, the flow was split on the east side and the west side. It's now all going to come to the west side. So it has the potential to impact basically like 3 homes significantly, and possibly even, impact White Church and wash that culvert out. So trying to get some answers to, how did they arrive at their design, and, what potential further mitigation they're going to continue, in this direction, what further mitigation they need to protect our residents and our roads. So I'm trying to follow up on that.
Bill, I see there's trees cut farther into 351 to the next culvert that's been an issue of, source of complaints over the years. Is that culvert also part of this project?
Not that I know of. That was just a cutback. They just had hired a whole bunch of, right-of-way clearing. And then my understanding is that most of it was just right-of-way clearing going on there. We have two resolutions tonight. You have a resolution to approve to allow the state supervisor to sign a contract with Posting Kill. Posting Kill is going to expand their water district and extend it. And as part of that, they needed to come back and modify the contract that they had with us to allow them to use more water. And also in that contract, we made provisions working with the attorneys and everything else to try to clean it up, simplify it, make it a little clearer than the original ones. There's a lot of information in the original that no longer applied because it had to do with construction that took place initially, when that first was negotiated. So that's in front of you. I think we got that down to, where we're seeing, that we're pretty satisfied with it. There might be a couple little tweaks that might have to take place, but the substance is in front of you there of what the contract is about. The other resolution that's in front of you is for approving an emergency purchase of a sewer lift station. While I was gone, we had a mishap down at what we call the Walmart pump station, the sewer lift station there. The station flooded completely, took the controls, the pumps, and everything else went underneath. The guys did a great job, and things cleaned up, and a temporary pump in here, and even that temporary pump failed yesterday, so we had to bring another pump in to replace that one. So it's one of these situations where this is 4 months out, we need to act quickly. The pricing is not, in this today's market, is not extreme. We could try going a route of, to try to work. There's only two vendors that supply this equipment that are reliable. One is Smith & Loveless, the other is Gorman Rupp. Gorman Rupp, that they told me they're at least 6 months out before it's the end. So Smith & Loveless is saying 4 months. So I would appreciate an approval of that resolution that allows to purchase the equipment.
We've had got some escrow there too.
Yes, we have $126,000. The total project is estimated right now. For the vendor portion of this is $145,000. We have $126,000 that was earmarked as improvements from, and Walmart gave us that money.
That's important. When Walmart came in, we made sure, because Bill said something's gonna happen. So we made sure they escrowed some money, so it's not gonna hit us taxpayers very hard. So it was a good thing.
Any questions?
I had a question on the Posting Kill resolution, and I admittedly got a little lost in the weeds of the legal end of it, but in the numbers side of it, it was mentioned that there's a 200,000 gallon per day thing, made sense maximum, but then also said 150 gallon per minute maximum. The old fireman in me said, wait a minute, that's not even one hand line on a fire truck anymore.
Yeah, that's because the system is backed up by their tank, right? So we're feeding to their tank. So they have a 400,000 gallon tank that they have that we then backfeed them for, their emergency purposes. It's just what crosses the meter. If we pull too hard, just the way the system is configured in the old mains and everything else, if we pull too hard, and that happens occasionally when Eagle Mills drills, you stir up the water, you get the discoloration. So that's why we're limiting them to their pumping to 150 gallons a minute. And then that is more than sufficient to supply their tank.
Whatever they do out of their storage, that's still there.
And that's their reserve for their firefighting.
Thanks.
Bill, one more thing. I went there the other day when they're working on it, not to gross these people out, but Walmart, what did he flush? They got long rolls of paper. I mean, that's toilet paper, rolls of paper.
Here's the sewer guy in me or whatever, the engineer in me. As we went across the country, we stopped in a couple different Walmarts. They all use this canister with these paper towels that you just pull out, and you just keep pulling them. You pull a whole roll out if you wanted to, right? But I don't know how it gets out of their building. but we'll get, I have literally stretched this stuff out on the ground after it's been saturated, and you can stretch out these things 6 foot long. There's no biodegradability in this immediately at all. These things are tough paper towels that, we get gloves, they're feminine products, we get, just
Clothes,
grease, clothes.
people go in and take their shirts off and flush them down and put the new ones on.
How it gets through the system. I know that they have somebody there almost regularly jetting their system out, and now we have a grease problem. Now we have to track that down. It seemed to occur after Wingstop, is there, so we gotta we did pull the covers on the grease traps, and we have to have conversations and get documentation of what they've done to clean these. We're getting a lot of grease carryover now that we never had before. It's pretty nasty. It's pretty nasty. And the guys, they dealing with this, it's your job, so you do it, but it's not pleasant.
I want to tell you, when you hit that toilet flush at Walmart, you better get out of the booth.
Yeah, well, that's why they just.
What kind of suction that thing? I mean, can they put like a grinder or something to chew some of that stuff up?
I have to go back and look at the planning board minutes when that was all approved and that the escrow was approved and everything else. Because this is above and beyond what's kind of reasonable. So there is a grinder that you can put in a manhole, and they refer to it as a muffin monster, and it has a bunch of rotating blades, so it'll shred all this material before that gets into your pump station. But that's another, probably $100,000 to put that equipment in place. You're gonna put the power, the supply, and everything else there. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll have some conversations with them, see whether or not they can remove those paper towels and use something different. It might require even us passing some sort of an ordinance saying that they can't use that kind of thing, because this is just very unreasonable.
It's nasty.
Yeah, it's just, that is fixable. These paper towels that you bring out for 6 foot long, that is something that's fixable that we should not have to tolerate. We can talk about that.
Welcome back.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Bradley's report. May I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Ister, second.
Rain all day tomorrow.
I know, a lot.
Recycling report for April. Blue bags purchased at the center, we had 484 and $3 for $1,452. Blue bags purchased from vendors, 600, $1,530. Purple bags purchased at the center, 170 at $2 for $340. Bale cardboard, 2.55 tons at a penny a pound for $51. Our metal light iron and tin, 1.2 tons at $156 a gross ton for $188. Miscellaneous large and small appliances, we had 8. We had 12 tires, 1 AC, 1 microwave for $236. Revenues of $3,797. The general expenses, the refuse landfill, 15.5 tons at $110 a ton for $2,605. Single stream recycle, 8.73 tons at $50 a ton for $936. Tires recycled, 0.603 tons, $299. E-waste, 1.87 tons, no charge. And that gave us expenses of $3,840. And the total amount recycled in landfill for April was 30.46 tons.
Thank you, sir. Entertain a motion for Tom's report?
I'll make it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brunswick Community Library, Sarah? How are you, Sarah?
I'm here tonight with my trustee Meredith Lee Clark. Thank you. I'm a little shorter than that. Okay, so for the month of April, we had 2,278 visitors. We answered 347 reference questions. Our Wi-Fi was used by 167 unique users, an average of 19 per day.
Our study spaces were used 347 times. Our tech was used 97 times. We processed 19 passports. Our items were checked out 6,636 times, and our programs were attended 927 times. Some of the cool programs we did last month, we had our very first bake-off. It went very well. We raised over $500 for the library, so thank you to everybody who came out and supported us and entered. We are planning to do something like that again, so keep your eyes out. We also had a fantastic Vasanthi class, a plain earth drawing class for Earth Day, kids ballet with Miss Tori, thank you, and a found poetry collage for Poetry Month. Upcoming special events for next month. This Saturday is our first fabric swap that we are hosting with the Capital District Modern Quilt Guild. It will run from 12 to 2. People can bring their clean fabric to swap with people. And from 2 to 6, they are having an open sew, so people can bring their sewing machines and all sew together. On the 13th, we have Nature Play with Miss Heather at 4 o'clock. That is a fabulous kindergarten style outdoor learning class. On the 14th, Earth Club is having a plant swap at 2 o'clock. People can bring houseplants, herbs, vegetables, flowers, anything that they'd like to swap. Also, planting and gardening books can be swapped. On the 19th, we still have a little bit of space in our birdhouse quilling class. Registration is required for that. You can call us at 518-279-4023 if you would like to try to get one of our last spaces for that. And on the 29th, we have a historian from the Burden Ironworks Museum coming out to host Emma Willard and the Birth of Higher Education for Women. That's on the 29th at 5 o'clock. And it's not next month, it's in June, but I still want to throw it out there. On June 7th, we are having our annual garden day. That will run from 10 to 2. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion for Sarah's report.
Yep.
All in favor?
Oh,
Second.
thank you.
All in favor? Okay, now we'll move into the resolutions. We have a few of them tonight.
Ready?
Yeah.
Resolution number 39 of 2025, resolution determining that premises at 180 McChesney Avenue is unsafe and dangerous and should be demolished, and setting a hearing date relating to this matter. The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Balistrary and seconded by Councilman Christian. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted.
What time are we planning on? 6:45?
I put in the 7 o'clock.
Oh, you put
I
in
put
7?
in, I put in 7, just because
Okay.
I don't think,
Couple minutes.
Kevin's been making real efforts. One of the owners of record of this property deceased about 2.5 years ago. And there's no estate in Rensselaer County Surrogates Court, so I don't know who his people are, and I can tell from the obituary. And there may be somebody else on the title, but we'll give I wanted to do it this way because we want to try and give some kind of notice, because we're going to destroy this house and we don't want anybody coming back at us saying, I mean, no one should really argue about it, but this way we give a notice, we put it on the door, we try and we do what we can, find the people, and then we're no one can come back and say we did something unfair.
Sounds good, thank you.
So 7 PM on June 12th, the next town board meeting?
Yeah, in other words, it is a regular meeting, maybe we just open it, call the hearing. I would be amazed if anybody would show up. It's going to be 30 seconds.
Thank you. Resolution number 40 of 2025, resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute an agreement with Coaster for the purchase and installation of a mounted pump station to replace the Walmart pump station.
I'll second it.
The
Thank you, Bill, for the explanation.
The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Christian and seconded by Supervisor Harrington. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary,
Aye.
and Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted. Resolution number 41 of 2025, resolution modifying and replacing the 2009 water transportation agreement between the town of Brunswick and the town of Postenkill.
I'll offer it.
I'll second it.
The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Sipperly and seconded by Supervisor Harrington. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted. Resolution number 42 of 2025, resolution accepting the proposal of Architecture Plus to provide design services for a town highway storage facility.
I'll offer it.
Second.
The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Sullivan and seconded by Councilman Christian. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted. Resolution number 43 of 2025, resolution authorizing the hiring of Andrew Gilchrist Jr. as court clerk in the Brunswick Town Court.
I'll offer.
Second.
The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Christian and seconded by Councilman Sullivan. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted. Resolution authorizing the hiring of a cleaning person for the Brunswick Community Center on Keys Lane.
I'll offer that.
I'll second.
The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Sipperly and seconded by Councilman Balistrary. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted. Resolution number 45 of 2025, resolution authorizing the hiring of Marie Barbera to serve as a court clerk in the Brunswick Town Court.
I'll offer.
Second.
The foregoing resolution has been offered by Councilman Christian and seconded by Councilman Sullivan. Roll call vote, Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted.
Mentioned Marie Barbera was court clerk for Brunswick before. She's currently a court clerk for North Greenbush. And the judges wanted a backup person because the court's very, very busy in Brunswick. So she's kind of a fill-in if we need her. So, okay, thank you. Correspondence?
We have several. To the town of Brunswick, Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, and Town Board. We are writing with dissatisfaction and outrage to the responses submitted to the town of Brunswick on behalf of Marie's Muse LLC from the public hearing held on March 17, 2025. We are imploring our Brunswick board members to reassess using vision, understanding, and strategic assessment to listen to our objections. You are our only way our voices can be heard and remedies carried through before another neighborhood is compromised. Upon speaking with residents who have experienced firsthand how the effects of the Hannaford construction resulted in the changing of traffic through their quiet neighborhood for the worse, we are perplexed by why this would be allowed to happen again. There are still many concerns, but this is the main one. Traffic quantity and patterns will definitely increase and affect the quiet neighborhood behind the 4 Mohawk Avenue and 727 through 737 Hoosick Road construction area. It was stated that there was a requirement for an additional exit out of the development area. There is no reason a second outlet must tie into Mohawk Avenue. There is no reason another outlet cannot open onto Route 7, as do many businesses in the now changed Hoosick Road corridor. Examples are Valero Gas, Roxy Cleaners, now becoming a pizza place, Mobile Gas, Key Bank, The Pine, and the strip mall at the west end of Troy Vet, just to name a few, which all have 2 entries connected to Hoosick Road. The side roads are not meant to become a thoroughfare from a gas station to Price Chopper or out onto Hoosick Road to avoid waiting at a traffic light and getting ahead of a line of cars. That is what they will become if an opening is made to Mohawk Avenue and no local authorities will be available to enforce a no right turn sign, no through traffic. These sides Side roads are barely wide enough for passing vehicles, let alone if a resident has a car parked in front of their home. Safety of our children and our residents will be a major concern if a higher volume of traffic begins. We're able to attend a public hearing on March 17, 2025, and speak about our concerns. There have been no responses from the town board members, only Bowler. It appears our pleas have fallen on deaf ears rather than concerned neighbors and community members. Again, we implore you to look at what is being done to our homes, our families, our lives, and our faith in our town, actually listening to and caring about its residents. We realize that construction is inevitable, but please stop and look before we've lost the town of Brunswick. Sincerely concerned residents George and Robin Jones. To the Town of Brunswick Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, and the Town Board, I am writing to you today out of frustration and desperation. I have previously submitted a letter and spoken out at the public forums regarding the project planned at Mohawk Avenue and Hoosick Street by Marie's Muse. The project, which I realize has already begun as I sit here typing this, listening to the engines, fans, truck beeping, and crews removing asbestos right outside my window. The responses I have received thus far to my comments, questions, and letter by Bowler and Mr. Freytag have yet to actually answer or address anything. It is disheartening to feel like all of my efforts and concerns are being dismissed or solely recorded as a formality rather than being taken into serious consideration. The issues I and many of my neighbors have brought up are valid, and it truly feels we are being swept under the rug as opposed to examined and compromised upon. The first large concern I have is the exit included onto Mohawk Avenue. I keep hearing that the traffic study says it will be infrequently used and that the route through our neighborhood to the traffic light on Roosevelt Avenue will barely be utilized, but that is not the case. At the first sign of a backup at the red light at McChesney intersection, cars will be looking for any alternative option available. I asked to please move the second entrance exit to Hoosick Street. The exit could be made to a right turn only to reduce traffic flowing through the dangerous turning lane. And two exits onto Hoosick Street seems to be perfectly permissible and functional, as it is seen at numerous other businesses along the corridor. I have noted that Old Roxy Cleaners, soon to be Golden Grain, Mobile Gas, Valero, Sunoco, KeyBank, Subaru, The Pine, the Miracle Ear, Strip Mall, and Valvoline, to name a few. As I have stated previously, our neighborhood is home to my two young girls, as well as other children who don't need their small street turned into a bypass route. The bottom of Mohawk Avenue is also our bus stop for School 18. Closing off the exit onto Mohawk Avenue would provide some semblance of retaining our neighborhood and safety for our children. It would be a small modification that would make an immense improvement. Another major concern that has not been addressed is privacy for my residents, the street from the project. The only responses I have been given refer to privacy screening for 6 Mohawk Avenue. Marie's Muse has been very open with Vince and Nicole Dama Polito after they agreed to part of their property being used to improve sloping. They were allowed to choose plants and trees and privacy barriers that they would be comfortable with after completion of the project. No provisions have been made for my property across the street, however. Some low shrubbery to appease green space requirements was mentioned, but that will do little to shield us from the 24/7, 365 lighting, noise, and traffic that will now be in my front yard. When we moved into our home, it was in a small, quiet neighborhood that would be peaceful and safe for my children to grow up in, but ever since Marie's Muse began buying property, it has declined quickly. In a perfect world, I would love to see this project not approved at all. There are empty storefronts surrounding us on all sides in the many strip malls that have already been built. The businesses that are planned, a large gas station, a mattress store, and a Chipotle, are so repetitious of what already exists on the busy Hoosick Street corridor. I realize the firms of companies investing in these strip malls and developments are the ones taking the chance on which businesses they include, despite the fact that 2 mattress stores in the same immediate area have already failed. The problem is we as a community are the ones then left with these failures. We're the ones who stare at empty shells and concrete only to have our homes further encroached upon and our green space slowly decimated. To our board members, I plead to you again to genuinely put yourselves in our shoes. It's easy to see this project as another way to bring in further tax revenue, or even to say, what real harm does another business and a few more cars on Hoosick Street do? But if this was happening in your own front yard, would you be as quick to push it aside? Did your children grow up with kind neighbors and a safe yard to play in? Or a new fast food restaurant and travelers filling their gas tanks right outside your door? I know that some people have even said to me that if I don't like what Hoosick Street in the town of Brunswick is turning into, I should move. That is unacceptable to me. This is my home. I grew up in Brunswick. I attended school here from kindergarten through high school graduation. I worked for the town summer camp and did my student teaching in the local school districts. I now live in my grandparents' home that they built themselves in the same neighborhood where I grew up and my parents still live. My entire life has always been here because I love Brunswick. I want to see this area continue to thrive and grow, but not at the expense of the residents that make up its heartbeat. Thank you for your serious consideration, Victoria Galvin. Dear Supervisor Harrington and members of the town board, I am writing to formally bring to your attention a long-standing and increasingly burdensome drainage issue affecting my property on Goodman Ave. I have been dealing with this matter for several years, and it continues to negatively impact both the integrity of my property and my peace of mind. Earlier today, I received a call from the highway supervisor who informed me that the drainage problem should be considered the homeowner's responsibility. I must express my frustration and disappointment with this response. Given the nature of the issue and its relation to what appears to be a broader infrastructure concern, I do not believe it is fair or reasonable for the town to absolve itself of responsibility. This ongoing problem has been both financially and emotionally taxing. I have made every reasonable effort to manage the situation, but without proper and permanent drainage solutions, the problem persists and worsens. I am respectfully requesting that the town conduct a thorough inspection of the drainage systems in this area and take appropriate corrective action as soon as possible. My hope is that we can work together toward a resolution that is both fair and sustainable. I also want to take a moment to recognize and sincerely thank Town Clerk Rebecca and Receiver of Taxes Jane for their kindness, professionalism, and willingness to listen. They both made me feel welcome and truly heard when I voiced my concerns, which I deeply appreciate. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. I would appreciate the opportunity to speak further on this issue and can make myself available at your earliest convenience. Sincerely, Joseph Anthony. Dear Ms. Delgazo, I attended the April 10th Town Board meeting, and I write to say that you responded to the public comment regarding your office with complete professionalism. Thank you. Dear Supervisor Harrington and board members, I was in attendance at the April meeting during which a gentleman reported his son not getting the needed service from the town clerk's office. It is acceptable to express dissatisfaction, but what I found very unprofessional was the discussion by the board afterward. The clerk should not have to explain and defend her personal information in public. She offered an explanation and apology. At that time, there should have been a statement from you, the attorney, or a board member that this could be discussed further privately if needed. I have always found Rebecca very helpful in person or when I have called or left a message. She is a great resource and follows up on questions. It is unfortunate the gentleman didn't call her office directly and leave a message because that probably would have resulted in a better experience for his family meeting his son's needs. Thank you. Mary Ellen Adams. To the town board members, it is with a heavy heart and deep frustration that I submit my resignation. Over my time here, I've witnessed and experienced conditions and treatment that have made continuing in this role untenable. The physical environment has become unacceptable, unsanitary, disorganized, and frankly embarrassing. Public restrooms are cleaned as infrequently as once a week. I've personally refilled the women's restroom soap countless times, replaced empty paper towels, and taken on basic janitorial tasks that should not fall on court staff. Garbage is often overflowing, and floors are left uncleaned and for extended periods. Employees are now expected to vacuum, empty their own trash bins, and maintain a workspace without support. The toxic work environment is just as troubling. There exists a group dynamic, a mean girl clique, that isolates, gossips about, and tears down others. Tracy has positioned herself as the leader, with Becky and Pat regularly participating and Pat often instigating. This behavior creates a hostile and discouraging environment, especially when employees express a desire to learn more or contribute in new ways. Instead of being supported, they are belittled, criticized behind their back, and discouraged from seeking growth. This is not just disheartening, it's damaging. Why are we not building people up? Why is a desire to improve met with resistance? Investing in employees is investing in the town. I've also had to sit through inappropriate conversations, boundary crossing jokes, and outdated, offensive commentary that made me deeply uncomfortable. Even when I made efforts to distance myself from the gossip and disrespect, it was unavoidable. I have witnessed eye-rolling, passive-aggressive body language and outright dismissal of valid concerns. The lack of professionalism is staggering. Though I have not been a direct target of the mob, the toll this environment takes on my mental health is real. Each day I wonder, when they're done with their current target, will I be next? On the topic of pay and fairness, when I began, I was told the court clerk salary was far below where it should be. A year later, I was told I was doing a great job and not contributing to drama. I was assured my compensation would be addressed. Judges themselves have acknowledged we deserve more. And yet, 2 newer employees have been awarded larger raises than mine for 2025. Meanwhile, there are no formal reviews, no advocacy, or no accountability. I've learned that elected officials often prioritize re-election over fairness, keeping taxes low at the cost of employee well-being. To add insult to injury, a male counterpart with less time in service received to pay a raise nearly $4,000 more than mine. While he is undoubtedly a valuable employee, I cannot help but ask, how is my extensive training, including over 6 hours of annual New York State Unified Court System training and numerous monthly micro trainings, not factored into my worth? This inequity makes it impossible for me to feel valued, and I no longer have faith that speaking up will result in change. Here, to challenge the status quo is to be labeled difficult or ungrateful. Lastly, the behavior of some members of the public has become intolerable. I regularly face verbal abuse, dishonesty, name-calling, and harassment with no clear policy or support from the town to address it. Other institutions like doctors' offices have signage and protocols in place to protect staff. We have nothing. We need training and leadership that empowers staff to handle these interactions safely and with support. I do not feel that the town values my contributions, safety, or professional growth. And because of that, I can no longer offer my loyalty or my labor. I hope sincerely that changes are made for the sake of those still working there. They and the townspeople they serve deserve better. Sincerely, former court clerk Christie. Tongue twister.
Okay. For the record, I just want to state, there's not a big turnover here. We haven't lost people. The court clerk position was filled in less than a week, 3 or 4 days. An assessor deputy who, older lady, had a health issue. That position was filled within a few days. To my knowledge, the majority of people are pretty happy, is what they tell me. We, as every place, there can be 1 or 2 that's not very happy, but there's not a big turnover in this town. Residents tell me they're very, very happy to come here. That people go out of their way to serve them. The building department, our assessor, I had a couple calls from senior citizens. Julie, she went to their homes to visit, and not to visit, but they collect what they needed to. The service has been outstanding. Our highway people get compliments all the time. Our highway department, we have a new labor contract. We just hired another person from another town that's been there for many years, wanted to come here. So the town of Brunswick staff, in my estimation, very, very happy. They're not leaving. The environment here is okay. I don't want to paint this gloomy picture, so, okay. We okay? Now, any other old business? We had correspondence. Any old business? Any new business? No? Warrants?
I make a motion, we pay our bills.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, comments from the visitors. Come on up.
Good evening, Mary Beth Bruno, 102 Lumax Run.
Before we continue, going forward, no road names, safety purposes, just your name. That's all that matters. Thank you.
Thank you. We all just heard a very long, detailed resignation letter.
Yeah.
And Mr. Harrington, you just deflected the point of that letter, so
No,
amongst the
I-
council, I think it should be discussed.
I'm sorry.
It was.
I'm not laughing.
You were.
I don't laugh.
I hope whoever's watching this plays it back.
She has a microphone. You can come up later.
I'm gonna come up.
Thank you.
That's okay, okay.
Your response just tonight did not take that letter seriously, so I hope that everybody.
I'm sorry, I did take the letter seriously. And I talked to both judges about it. They had their own opinion.
But I asked that a personnel matter is not discussed at a public meeting. But it
I
should
didn't
be.
think personnel, I didn't know we did personnel matters like this, you know.
Actually, at the April meeting, it became a personnel matter, and that was also not pulled in and ended at the last April meeting, when someone was here to complain about the court, the deputy clerk's office. So that again, I thought was inappropriate. So I just want to make sure that that letter that was just read tonight is please look into.
And I did meet with her before she left, and I didn't get that whole feeling. It was her and myself. She gave me other reasons for leaving, some insurance stuff and stuff like this. I didn't get that feeling when I talked to her. So, go ahead.
I heard in the resolution tonight that a court clerk has been hired. His name is Andy Gilchrist. Isn't Andy Gilchrist our town attorney?
No, son. His son.
So we have a town attorney and a court clerk with the same name, obviously related.
He's a son.
His
Right.
son.
His son, so that would be a very obvious conflict of interest to have the town attorney, court clerk. I understand that Mr. Judge Buchanan is our town justice. However, it seems in a pool of qualified people, we would find somebody outside family members. You said you filled the position in 4 days. I assume that's the position that Christie just resigned from. Is that correct?
Say that, I'm sorry. Say that again.
This position that was just filled in 4 days, Andy
Yes.
Gilchrist was the candidate that was hired
Yes,
for this position that this
yes,
woman just resigned from.
yes.
Well, I was just gonna say that's a very quick turnaround, and the fact that this person is a relative to our town.
I said 4 day week.
I-
I'm gonna interrupt you. Can I interrupt it? It was advertised, I said 4 days, but I want to say it was filled quickly in my mind. The 4 days might be a Trump fact. Maybe I threw that out. It was advertised and filled quite quickly.
Well, the town's legal team is very small. We have 2 attorneys now. And the fact that we would hire a town clerk from the same family, I think, is a very obvious conflict. of
Court
interest.
clerk, yeah.
Court clerk is a conflict of interest. Just want to have that said. There were 2 letters written tonight that were read by the Joneses and the Galvins. I hope that you will take these pleas very seriously. I felt we had some strong opposition at the public hearing. Those people also took the time to write these letters, and I know, just speaking to people in the community, there is a lot of opposition in the town. I think he's aware of it, but I don't sense that there's a response to it. So are those letters shared with the zoning board and planning board? Yes.
They already have, yes.
Okay, thank you. And I wanted to remind everybody.
For what it's worth, can I just interject?
Of course.
Because
Speak in that microphone so we can hear you, Dave.
I got one of those letters, I didn't get both, came in, between last meeting and this one, and I think people should be aware, I mean, people think that because the town board appoints the planning board and appoints the zoning board, that the town board runs either of those boards or has control over them. They don't. It's set up with a structure so each of those boards has staggered members. In other words, they someone might serve for a year, then 2 years, and 3, you understand, it's like a rotating membership, so it's a different town board that may be filling that over a period of time. And the way it's structured that way under state law is because these boards are set up specifically under New York state law to administer certain local laws that we have relating to zoning and planning. And the idea is that the town board passes the local law that provides for zoning and variances and all that kind of thing. But it has to be administered by a separate independent board, both in the context of zoning for variances, setbacks and all that kind of thing, which I guess is one of the things that are with, I didn't see the second letter. I think I saw the first letter that you read. But the town board does not have the power to direct either of those boards what to do. They're supposed to be independent boards construing our local laws. And if people think they have not done that correctly, they have recourse to the courts. They can challenge it and say this isn't correct, or this is arbitrary and capricious and so forth. So, I've seen this here in this town. I've seen it in other towns where I worked as a town attorney, that people think that the planning board and the zoning board are just subordinate boards and they can make like an appeal to the town board. But the town board here really can't do anything about that. They can't change it, they can't argue it, it's supposed to be set up independently.
Unlike other towns, our town zoning board and planning board members are appointed by our town supervisor. They're not advertised, they're not based on.
Right, but they're voted upon by the town board, is that correct?
Based on Mr. Harrington's recommendation.
Sure.
No,
Well,
like I said, they're not as independent as you would think. Or
But-
would
no.
100%.
I gotta say that again. I got new hearing aid, but I appoint what now?
When there's an opens or a vacancy on the town planning board or town zoning board, how are they filled? Where are those candidates come from?
They apply,
They
the
do
board,
apply to a post.
I don't appoint them, the town board votes on this.
I'm sorry, the last person that was filled, you said at a board meeting that you didn't advertise because if you had advertised, we would have had this person hired anyway, so just to that point.
But the point being that they're appointed over a period of time and it's staggered. And
No, I understand that.
just,
Thank you.
and at least in local government that I've seen, the town board has no say, and it's not even a political thing where they could tell them what to do. It's just not
Sure, they're
done.
adhering
So
to
I
the
listen
laws
to
in
letters,
place.
I hear what these folks are saying. It does appear to be, that they have some good points to make, especially about, I'm just listening to it, maybe about that second exit that they're concerned about going to damage their neighborhood. I think my understanding is from this project that they've gone through one of the boards and now they have to go to the second board. And I understand that the issue of how the site is going to be laid out is still open. I could be incorrect on that, but that's.
The letter that was just read earlier, one of the words that jumps out to me and comes up frequently is the word vision. The town council is responsible for the vision of our town that comes from our comprehensive plan that is overdue to be updated. And I feel like this ongoing problem with traffic and continuous development on Hoosick Street, that is more than we can handle, is something that the town board is responsible for. And my last comment is to remind everybody that on May 31st is the memorial for Jennifer Mann. It'll be at the Brunswick Church, 10 a.m. I hope we will all remember Jen every day, her kindness, her leadership, everything she's done for the town of Brunswick, and most of all, her friendship to everybody that she met. Thank you.
Thank you. Just quickly mention, Mr. Gilchrist was hired, this town board did not interview. We didn't suggest, the two judges did the interviewing along with Janice, our head court clerk. They did the interview. They tell me Mr. Gilchrist is a paralegal. They're very, very happy, very, very sharp. So they recommended, they called me up and recommended that we move forward. So the two judges and the court clerk was the one that recommended Mr. Gilchrist. So Okay, come on up.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi,
I'm not really sure if this
right
is.
that microphone, please.
Hi. I'm not really sure if this is a place where we do new business, because we're all kind of new to the area. So
Okay.
for me-
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Hi.
Yeah, get a little closer.
State your name. Please state your name.
My name is Angela McNish.
Can you spell it?
McNish, McNish. We're coming to you because we live at Tamarack Pond, and there's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
a lot of problems with encroaching from the pond, and it's almost starting to overflow onto Tamarack Road.
Yeah.
Our property is being encroached upon. We have an old barn. It's a beautiful old barn that we would like to salvage, but it looks like if it continues, we'll lose it. Our neighbors here are also losing property. And of course, we do worry about the light pole that has the transformer. It's starting to look like it's starting to overlap.
Mhm.
So we're getting very, very concerned about the leachage coming forward and encroaching into our property. So we wanted to formally request to you a resolution. In recent years, the shoreline has experienced notable erosion, which has begun to threaten the integrity of the properties along the pond edge. To prevent further property damage and environmental degradation, we propose the construction of a retainer line, such as rock or concrete barrier along the shoreline. This would serve to stabilize the banks, reduce erosion, and protect adjacent properties. Additionally, the pond is in need of environmental cleanup, particularly the removal of the excess algae, organic buildup, and other debris. This would not only improve the pond's appearance, but also restore ecological balance, support healthier aquatic life, and reduce odors and stagnation. Our proposed actions would be to construct a retainer wall or shoreline barrier along the affected properties, to clear out the accumulated algae weeds and debris of the water, evaluate water, and consider long-term maintenance strategies. The benefits would prevent further property loss and reduce risk to infrastructure. Improve all aesthetics and usability for the pond area. A lot of people love to fish there. Enhance water quality and habitat for local wildlife. Increase long-term value of our property and for our enjoyment. We would just like to request that you think about helping us out. Anybody want to add?
How are you
These
tonight,
are all
sir?
our
How are you?
neighbors.
Go right ahead. Hi.
Hi, I'm Mary Keith, and I've lived on the pond for 35 years.
Wow.
And I've seen I've seen it really degraded. When I first moved out here, there was all kinds of boats, people fishing. We would actually eat the fish in the pond. Then we would fish and they would be wormy
Hey, Bill.
over the years. So.
Go ahead.
No, so I just want to say that there's also, like, the culvert has to get cleaned out, but Tate cleaned it out every day.
Every day this week since Sunday,
Wow.
every day.
But there's bigger culverts, Tate was telling me, there's bigger culverts up above,
Up Campbell Lane.
and then there's a little one, smaller one, and that's always been a problem, that little culvert, there's also Beaver, I get it. But I've just seen that beautiful pond, over the years. It's just so sad.
Me too. I live up the road,
I know where you live.
And I love it. I know everybody knows where I live, I think, so. That is the kayaks and the kids, that's not very deep out there, is it? It's like,
It's about like 5, 6 feet deep, 8 in some spots.
Yeah.
There's good fish in there, there's good 2-3 pound bass.
that pond is owned privately by quite a few people, own that
We all
pond.
have pieces of it.
Everybody's got a piece of it. Going up the road behind your house on the left, those lots extend out into the pond, so it's like privately owned, so I don't know where we stand. I'm not talking retainer wall, that's different, but I don't know what the town can do with that.
Well, we were told years ago that because of that access road, because I remember Mr. Loopy put up posted signs, and he had to bring them down because it's an access road, and anybody could just go into the pond because that's a road.
Yeah, Campbell.
And so that's Campbell, so that makes it really
That is a
hard.
town, that is a town road right there, I know.
And I totally get it, but then people bring in boats that are contaminated, and it just,
Possibly, you don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was the clearest pond.
Is there any fish in there?
Yeah,
Many, many years.
No kidding.
And-
So can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
When you have your deed, does your deed describe a piece of land that goes into the pond? Does everybody have a pie-shaped thing or something like that? And
I
what does the
have,
deed look like? Is it
Oh, my-
surveyed out to the middle of the pond?
nope, it's not surveyed, mine is, a third of an acre, and I have a long, thin driveway, and the third of the acre just goes just out like this. You know,
But who owns the land under the water? That's the thing.
It's owned privately. The different portions of it are owned privately.
Well, that's what I'm
Private individual.
But is it like 3 people own everything underneath, or like 12? How many people live around the pond?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9.
9 different property owners?
10.
I guess, I'm Dan McNish. I would just, my concern is, the utility pole.
Yeah, that's
Utility pole, it has a transformer at the.
That's a concern.
It is completely submerged in water. I was down there the other day and noticed that it's starting to undermine the road as well. And the culvert, obviously can't keep up with the water. I don't know the impact on the other side of the road, if you were to, what you do with the water, or what we would do with the water on the, on the east side of the road there, how it would flow to the west. I'm not really sure how that, it's impacted a relatively new to the area. So, like I said, my concern is, that utility pole. I mean, we don't know how bad the bottom of it is. Obviously it's submerged completely, 100%. And should it go into the water, I'm definitely without power. Be exciting for a few moments.
Plus you like to be able to use your
Yeah,
barn,
and to answer to your point, as far
your
as,
garage, I think.
yes, the barn, I would like to salvage that because it is a very old building. Historic, very close to being built. But our property line does actually go out. If I was to draw 2 straight lines to intersect, that would be about 15 feet out of the existing water now. So possibly further. So,
Maybe this isn't the place to ask, but I often wonder, where's your septic system? You set right on the water, there's no area.
yeah.
Where's the septic?
Ours is closer to the house, but
Yours
ours is
is,
the
but
leach.
yours,
Mine is back, I
yours,
have a brand new one.
is it in the water?
Mine
No.
is,
No, mine is up the hill, and I just,
Okay,
about 20 years ago, I got a brand new one.
yeah, I'm just thinking that's gonna be tough, because you're right there, so.
so the water level, when it came up on Sunday, it was like
Oh, yeah.
probably within a few feet of my leach field. So, I mean, that's.
And I had not 1 square inch of that barn was not underwater.
I know,
So-
I go by there, I see it.
Is it encroaching because it's retaining more water?
I
Water is
believe so.
draining out fast
I
enough?
believe that it's, yes, it's retaining more water and it's
Pond's
not,
alleviating itself.
right, it was not moving through the culvert. The culvert seems to be relatively small based on the amount and short. So I don't know, it's about the same size as the one further up Tamarack Road that was just recently, where it washed out the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah,
So it's relatively small, I think probably, I don't know the history of it, but I would guess at the time it was installed, it was probably an adequate size. I don't know if it's been replaced.
I never see any, I'm not very good at this. Bill, what's that green stuff, milfoil or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
I don't see any of that on there, is there?
Not right now.
Later.
Later, okay.
And then it draws in flies, we had a huge problem with flies over the summer, like in our houses, like,
I know.
a majority of them.
Right. So
Hundreds of flies.
I guess, we're just questioning what would be our next approach as far as mitigating this. towards, solving the problem or trying to.
In terms of the water
Yeah,
quality.
like I don't want the pond to go away and
No, I don't
return
either.
to the stream that it once was and whatever, but, because there is wildlife there, we love the birds and the kids come and fish and it's,
So the water quality and then, I
But the
mean,
water quality as the year goes on,
It's choked
later
out
in
by
the
the,
summer, it
by
gets
the
choked
algae.
out by the algae. You don't see any
And then you can't
clearness until fall.
yeah.
And, and of course it impacts, with the insects and the wildlife, and then of course the encroachment onto our properties.
That's a one for the attorney to figure out.
Yeah, I think the issue is gonna be, if the pond is owned privately, I don't know what the town
Well,
can do, I don't know,
and I
who
guess
owns the utility?
Mike? Uh-oh, you got the
Okay.
answer.
I got the card.
He's got the card. This is the
The
DEC.
first thing you gotta do is talk to that guy.
Okay.
We can't even go in on the tree that one.
Is that right?
What do you got, Mike? What's going on?
DEC.
DEC?
So-
It takes a 9-page form for me to be able to take and clean it.
Is that right?
And
How does that affect the use of within 100 feet?
everything.
How does that affect the homeowners? Because my doorsteps are.
That's not your land, that's DEC land now.
So I'm not supposed to be going down there doing the tree now and spotting it.
He's,
Okay, that was.
I'm sorry for you, but that's when we were gonna start. And it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy going up there watching the kids out there with the kayaks and stuff.
I mean, that's 100 feet, my doorsteps.
I know.
Maybe I should get the DEC to make my mortgage pay.
Yeah, that might be an idea.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea.
That's an interesting pond. You are aware that the water goes out of both ends. of it.
Yes.
That's amazing to me. Part of it goes toward Tamarack School, and the other end flows toward Tamarack Reservoir.
So from where we're at, it looked like I was watching it this morning. It looks like it's running towards Tamarack School. But
Oh, yeah.
But that's.
That changes also.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It'll go the other way.
Okay, we
All
weren't
right,
sure
thank
where
you,
to.
people.
Thank you for your time.
We would, we'll get somebody looking at that pole.
Just wanted to add,
Sure.
these property lines, right, that are in place that we all have on our various
Yeah.
houses that are bordering the pond. At one point in time, those property lines, you were able to have access to the whole property. Now, every year or every time the storm comes, if the water level gets higher and higher, it takes away more of your land that you're never gonna get back. Like, I can't even get my lawnmower to the back part of my yard to cut the back part of the grass right now, because it's totally ruined, it's soaked.
Yeah.
I mean, something's gotta do something.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, anybody else at this point?
Hey, please, I'm sorry.
Hi, Victoria Galvin. You heard my letter, and I'm still here to talk about a lot of the same problems. I understand that you feel like you don't have any control over the planning and zoning board, but I don't know who else to talk to. I feel like we make all of our claims at all of these open forums, and it's like, okay, thanks, we wrote it down, and now we're stuck, and it's not just going away for me. Every day I come home to see what new disaster is on the corner as things are changing. Again, our main issue that has been the fight of all of my neighbors, and some other Brunswick residents who've even been at the meetings because it's already happened to their communities after Hanford was built, after Walmart was built, is just that outlet onto Mohawk Avenue. Like, I don't feel like that's that big of an ask. And there's no even attempt at a compromise being made. Like, I know that this project is happening. I'm a realist, I get it. But as of the last planning board meeting on the 1st, we've been given a no right turn sign, which if anybody has ever driven past Walmart and seen how much they listen to the no left-hand turn with the curbing, that's what we're gonna have, is no right-hand turn up into our neighborhood, and a curb that they even said themselves is not the kind of curb that stops you from driving up on it. It's the curb that's just a mere speed bump. So that way you can get over it if you need to. So that's what will happen time and time again. And I said, I have 2 little girls. That's our bus stop at the bottom. I mean, today alone, I had to walk around a wood chipper because they're taking down all the trees to try to get my daughter off the bus. I get that the construction's not going to last forever, but the trucks and things coming in are going to be there for the rest of our lives now. The gate was brought up at the last zoning board meeting by Mr. Schmidt, who genuinely didn't see a reason why we couldn't close that off, just like the back of Rensselaer Honda. The fire company would have a key, so for an emergency, they could get in, but it couldn't be used for through traffic. And Mr. Locker also thought that that was a very fair compromise. It was passed on to the planning board, which brings up my next problem, is that then at the planning board meeting, Mr. Freitag was asked about the option of the gate, and he said that that he spoke with Brunswick One, and they said it wasn't feasible to use the gate, which just didn't make sense to me. Again, it was put in a Rensselaer Honda, and that was perfectly fine. The fire company themselves have a gate. So I called Brunswick One, and I spoke to Fire Chief Allison, and he informed me that they never had a discussion about a gate. He had never heard of anything about a gate before. And that in fact, if there was a gate at that opening, they would still let the fire trucks be able to come in and use it for emergency purposes. If they put in that curbing, it's useless to the fire trucks because they won't be able to make the swing in anymore. So I really feel that the only use that they have for wanting no gate there is because they're looking into buying up more property, including the dentist office that's still vacant, and they want to have everything connected. And I also feel that it's a big problem that in this, speaking with the zoning and planning board, that there's no like fact checking or questioning anything that is being said as answers. Because that firehouse thing really, I mean, what else is he just saying like, oh, I went and talked to them and they said that wouldn't work. They said that the 24/7 hours, which I think are absolutely unnecessary and ridiculous for the fact that this isn't just being put in the commercial area, it's being plopped in the middle of our neighborhood. He said, oh, the quick check said that that's non-negotiable, that's not okay. I don't know if he even actually asked quick check that. And I also don't understand why it's just, why the town is saying like, that's okay, we want to make quick check happy. I don't think we're begging them to come and move in here. Why is that not one of the things that we're allowed to say, we're happy to have this new development, we're going to build more, but that doesn't suit our needs, that doesn't suit our town, that doesn't suit the area. I think that we should be making the rules and it shouldn't be up to the businesses to decide. And if they don't like that, then they don't need to be here. But I'm sure there's something else that will fill that. It was gonna be Chick-fil-A as of, 5 months ago, and that didn't work out, so now we're bending over backwards to make sure quick check works. And a lot of the answers that were the responses to our questions that Bowler Company had was that it's not the purview of this board. So I understand there's things that the zoning board, the planning board are there for, but I need to know, who do we talk to then? Like, whose purview is it? Because
A lawyer. This board really, people get upset about this, but it really is the truth. These boards are set up to administer our laws. If you think that they're administering the laws incorrectly, or having an incorrect hearing, not making a correct determination, you have the right to challenge that. We have no power to overrule them on this board. We can't have the town board take a resolution dismissing the planning board or overruling what they did.
I don't understand what we have a planning board and a zoning board for. If there's no one that's going to say what we need and what we don't need and what's right for our area and what's not right for our area.
What happens is, in any situation like this, you have a group that has to decide how that law is going to be administered. And usually, often, one side is unhappy and one side is not. And the question is, who's gonna make the decision? And under the town law, not just this town, every town in New York State, the planning board and zoning board, if they have zoning, are set up to administer those local laws. And the town board doesn't have the power to overrule it. What would you ask the town board to do?
I said, I am here because every time I go to someone, they say, we don't have any control over that. Every board, every member that I have talked to, the building department, anyone that we have spoken to, and I don't understand, we're making the businesses happy. We're not making your town residents
You
happy.
disagree with decisions that I made, okay? And I haven't heard either side. I heard both sides of this, and it's not up to me to make a decision. I'm just trying to say to you and to other folks, it may be frustrating, but it's real. This town board doesn't have the power to overturn that decision.
I understand.
Okay,
So I'm going
so then the question is,
I still need to be heard.
okay,
I need to get
well,
it
you asked
out.
a question, and I was gonna suggest what you do.
You had told me to hire an attorney, that
Talk
that's
to-
what I have to
At
do.
least speak to an attorney to see what your legal rights are in that situation. But generally speaking, that's your recourse.
I guess I thought that my town, my representatives here are here to stop some of these problems from happening
They can't.
before.
Your representative here can't stop it. Well,
What's
I
I know, we're at an impasse,
I'm
because
not-
I think, like, why do we have a planning board? I understand, we've talked to Mr. Manillo, and he got out the book, and it's pretty much like, if a business wants to come, it doesn't matter the fact that in a 3-mile radius, we have 8 gas stations already, and we have 8 fast food restaurants. They can come and we can just have another one. And I don't, like, what is becoming of Brunswick? Okay, I'm gonna move on because I still have a pretty big list. My other problem, as was mentioned in my letter, is that they have talked to one neighbor in our entire area about any kind of privacy screening, and that happens to be, which again, I'm not saying that this is a direct cause and effect, but it really doesn't sit right with me that the one person who is getting any say in this is somebody that works for the town and has immediately family members working for the town. And they are suddenly all in for this project. Like I said, they are giving up some of their property to let it happen. And then that's the only person that has been discussed any of the shrubbery going in, the walls, the retaining, the screening going in. My driveway will be here. And the driveway of Quick Check will be here. Like, we're just offset. And then I have lawn right here, right across from the gas station, that will be right here. There are like 2 trees on the map showing what will be going in. Trees that will not even be trees for 15 years. And I get nothing. And I don't understand why my residents that will be directly affected is not even spoken to. And again, at the last planning meeting, Mr. Henderson brought up the concern with the 24/7 lights and noise and everything that we're going to have. And he himself stated that Cumberland Farms was a mistake, having the 24/7 opening, and that shouldn't happen again. And what can we do? And everybody looked at each other and said, well, I think it's too late for that. Again, why can't something be done? And let's see, I talked about that Quick Check isn't willing to change their 24/7 requirements, so we're catering to them. Let me see. I also was really upset at the planning board meeting that they were there to review the contingencies and recommendations made by the zoning board. at the previous meeting. And when it came up for it to be discussed, they said, well, we still don't even have the minutes from the zoning board meeting with about all of the contingencies that were being sent to them. So then they asked Mr. Freitag what was being asked. What are the contingencies going through? And then Mr. Gilchrist did help some with what was going on. But I hope that they remembered everything, right? Because they talked about it and voted and moved things along anyway. If you're at a business meeting in a boardroom and you're gonna vote on things and they were like, can we have the list of what we're going to vote upon? We don't have them. Let's see what Jill remembers. I don't think that would be a way to run a business. I don't think that would be okay. So again, I would like to see something about, let's have a law put in place for our town to be able to say, no, we don't need any more fast food restaurants. We need a family sit-down restaurant that we can all enjoy. We need something that's here for the residents of the town to enjoy versus the people commuting through on their way to ski in Vermont. I understand the way that the laws are set up now, but I don't see why we can't change that. Other places have laws that say, we don't want any fast food restaurants here at all. They can turn down businesses without an issue. And I would also like to see something change that allows us to be heard and us to work with you more, because Mr. Freitag keeps complaining that they've been in the works for the last 2+ years, talking to the planning board and the zoning board and the building department, and I got to speak, well, one time. This happened to be twice because they extended the public forum. So the businesses have plenty of time to work and talk and work everything out, but we barely have a chance to say anything. And I'd also like to know who I go to in the next year as the destruction of my property takes place. The tree removal trucks have already been making ruts on my lawn. When the signage that they say is going to fix everything about the cars driving through our neighborhood gets ignored, who do I call? Because everything is that it's, the police department should be on that. Well, nobody stops the cars that speed past my daughter's school bus on a daily basis, so I don't think they're gonna be coming to enforce the no right turn sign. How about when the dumpsters are left open and there's garbage and wrappers all over my lawn where my children play? I keep getting told that none of these are gonna be issues, but they're going to be, and Mr. Freitag of Bowler and the gentlemen of Marie's Mews aren't gonna be here to take care of that when it does become a problem. They'll be long gone because they've got their money and everything's been built, and now we're left to suffer with it. I'm really asking you to listen to our concerns as if they're happening to your family. You're lucky enough, I think a lot of you, to live in a part of Brunswick that still has been left untouched. You, I'm sure, deal with the congestion of Hoosick Street and grumble about that. But I'm pretty sure that you can look out your front door, sit in your yard, and still see your neighborhood. Have your windows open in the spring and summer and smell your flower garden or the manure that's being spread in the closest field. I'm gonna get to open my windows and smell gas fumes. And I'm gonna hear car doors being slammed, and I'm gonna hear the music that's being pumped out at the pumps, and the dumpsters that get emptied at 4 a.m. And my kids are gonna get to open the door and see the fluorescent lights now instead, and just strangers in our front yard all the time. When I grew up here and the neighborhood that I grew up in, it was a beautiful, happy, magical place to grow up. We had wonderful neighbors. We had fields. I always felt safe as a kid. That's why when my husband and I got married, he lived in Loudonville, and I said, I want to live here because I love it here. And I don't want anyone to make us want to move. This is my home. My youngest daughter is 4, and she keeps asking us why someone is making us move because she doesn't understand what's going on, but she can feel the stress and the heartache that's just like palpable in our home. My older daughter got off the bus today and started crying when she looked and saw what had happened in the couple hours that she had been gone. My grandfather built the house that we live in. My great-grandfather, all this property was his farm, and they would be absolutely horrified to see what's happening. We've lived here for multiple generations, and I just feel like it means nothing. I just want you to slow this process down, like take our concerns seriously. Check if the information that you're being fed from these companies are even accurate, and figure out what it will take to make these little compromises that will help the town residents. Again, I understand that growth has to happen, change has to happen, but just let us keep our little community and feel safe where we live. With all the construction and congestion that just keeps happening, I just want everyone to consider like what's gonna happen when nobody wants to live here anymore.
Thank you.
Yes, my daughter, Robin Jones, and I know some of you, we have for a long time. Everything that Tori said is true. It's awful down there. You don't go out your front door and have to deal with that every day. I don't know where your addresses are. I have ideas on some. The answers that we were given when we could go and speak at the hearing with the planning and the zoning board amounted to nothing. We did bring these concerns. They were passed over. The board members that had concerns were passed over. You know, we elect the town officials, the politicians. We have the board members. We put our trust into them. And it's really making us doubt everything. No one's listening. Doesn't seem like anyone cares. It's already changed a neighborhood behind Hannaford from what I grew up seeing. It's changed Cooper's Pond area. Have you ever counted how many cars line up on Coolidge Avenue to avoid Sickaway? The DOT is a big support with Marie's Muse when we talk with anything, the traffic study that was done. The one traffic study that I looked at that they referred to said that it was done before 2020 when Aldi was finished down there. How does that show a business that's here now that it's not even studied? Nothing's been done in the past. Things were asked about. I went to a meeting, to a learning process at the community center on Keys Lane. And we were supposed to be able to talk with people and express concerns at that point. There were maps, we could put Post-it notes on there. I was told by one gentleman, well, the traffic isn't going to change. I said, the traffic problem comes from the top of Hoosick Street. When 4 lanes try to go into 2, no one wants to give anybody a chance. They block the intersection because they have to get through at the light. They come up to where Valero Gas is, and you're into 1 lane. They can't make it any wider because they can't take the people's land. They put in sidewalks. They want to put in a bus pullover at one point. That isn't going to solve any of these problems. Mohawk Avenue exit is the other big one. The firehouse in Sickaway has a gate to stop traffic, I'm sure, that would cut over behind and go out the backside. They had trouble with cars cutting through at Rensselaer Honda. There's a gate there. A friend of mine said, oh, I saw when I came over the back way that I could cut through there, and now there's a gate across. I said, you're not supposed to cut through there. That was a resident that used to live here. It's not going to get any better. You say that you can't stop anything, but didn't you say that you approved a proposal for what was to come to begin with? The planning board looks at things. okay, it's following the rules, but it's not listening to what the residents are looking for, or don't want to have to deal with, or thinking for the future of what is going to happen. I was always taught if I did something, if I said something, what effect is that going to have tomorrow, in a year, in 5 years? It's gone. I feel like this is just being railroaded through. More money in for taxes, but it's not, it's not hearing the residents. Yes, try to find an attorney. I've had many calls that I've made. Either they don't want to touch it, or I don't get called back again. So that gets me nowhere, because I was prepared for that. My husband said, we'll do something about it. I know, as Tori said, building is going to happen. Zoning changed. And what I was explaining, Mr. Manello explained to me, it all went to commercial. And there's business area, and then it gets a little lighter business, and then there's residential, and there's agricultural. And maybe the agricultural will never have to change, and aren't you lucky if you don't have to have it changed for you? I did, and I had no choice. It was just done, 2017? So it's gone. There is no more quiet meeting. I don't know who else to talk to. So this is our last hope. We have copies of the notes that we've written. We wake up at night and think about all this, and one thing leads to another, to another, to another. It's not very conducive to happy families anymore. Sorry.
Thank you. Just curious, Robin, I mean, the people that live in those houses, I know it's changed, but I mean, my Uncle Carol had cows down there, you know. People that live in those houses that they're tearing down, they're right on Route 7. It's very difficult for me to go say to them, sorry, you gotta stay residential, you know, you gotta raise your grandchildren here, you gotta raise your kids. They're not off the road, they're on Route 7. It's just hard for me to say, you can't sell your property, because some of them are saying, we can't live here. We hear these trucks are 15 feet from our door. We want to sell, we want to get money, and then we want to go get a condominium or something. I can't tell those people who live there, no, please.
But you can think about what wants to
type
come
of-
in to where they are.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Right, and that's what, you know, we understand, yes, but look at the businesses that have come in already.
I've talked to so many good restaurants, and none of them even cares, you know, I mean, about coming here, so.
So,
Is the planning board completely done with that Mohawk
as far as.
traffic studies? Or I mean, traffic?
I don't know, pardon?
Is it hearing still?
No.
No, that was closed. We were told we could write letters to bring to the planning board, and thank you, Rebecca, for reading those. When we got here with them, they said, no, you can't have any letters. Well, one thing that was addressed was, they wanted to know what the hours of construction were going to be.
Mhm.
Tim said, oh, it will be, 6 AM
To
to 8 PM, 7 days a week. And Ann Clementi at that point in time said, oh, well, now wait a minute, you can't do something like that. Well, we have deadlines. Well, we also have sleep time. Nothing has been addressed since then that I've heard of, right?
No, because that was one of the things that was
That was-
referred to the planning board, and then nobody mentioned it, and there were no minutes.
For the
so
contingency of
it
things,
didn't get
right?
talked about.
I'm just trying to, yeah. That was one main thing that we never have in any of your,
No, and so far they've been working at 6 AM.
right, and we're in the back. I'm not face up, but I hear it now, 5:45 this morning.
But she's not. We
Right.
don't live way up top. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Who's here for solar, McChesney?
A lot of us, right?
No, wait a minute, hey, I can't hear you. What was that? You wanna come up microphone or what?
I just want to address the solar for McChesney.
Oh.
I don't know how this works. It seems like one at a time, but it seems like a lot of us are here for the solar for McChesney.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Many times, and I guess I should listen, many times I've been asked to try to limit input or discussion to 5 minutes. And maybe I should start that, but I hate to shut these people off because I've known them my whole life. I understand. I think Dad painted my house
Probably.
when I built my house, Bobby. So I let him go on, but that's what happens. I'm sorry, because then the rest of the people don't have a chance. So I'll try to keep it moving. Kim?
Hello,
Hi.
Kim Jensen. So I wanted to follow up on a couple of things that have come up over the past couple of months. Last meeting, there was some discussion about the procurement policy as it relates to AIT and our website. And I know it was discussed that the procurement policy has a caveat in there that if we have used this vendor for services in the past, that we can use them for like services. The last time that we had a proposal for similar type services was 8 years ago. I don't know if that falls within what is considered a reasonable timeframe. For me, I personally would not consider that a reasonable timeframe. And then beyond that, we never secured a contract with them for those services. So regardless of whether or not we needed to put out for a proposal, we did not secure a contract with them for those services. And that is concerning. In addition to that, there was no scope or requirements that was provided by the town for the website redesign. There's an unclear state of guidance by the town in regard to the development of the website. And this creates a lot of uncertainty in the use of our tax dollars. And I think that's something we can all agree is important, that we're good stewards of our tax dollars. Mr. Polito had discussed in, I believe, November of 2024, that the relationship with AIT had stemmed from the county contract. Since 2010, the county has awarded one bid to AIT. That was for power protection services from September 2016 through 2017. He also discussed that AIT provides us some amount of security services. And the Attorney General's office has noted in relation to the SHIELD Act that because we do not have a contract for those services, that we are specifically financially liable for any data breaches or negative impact. There is also the potential for penalties and fines due to that lack of a contract. This also relates to the fact that we do not have a contract with Mohawk, that we let that lapse at some point. That had to be more than 6 years ago, which also means that we allowed Mohawk to build their facility as a base of operations, as it was referenced in a previous meeting in Rensselaer County, without securing any sort of services for our residents. This is extremely concerning to me, and I know that Mr. Sipperly and Mr. Balistreri are working on the Public Safety Committee to work on securing emergency services for our town. But it is concerning that by scratching the surface of some of these actions that are taken by the town on behalf of residents, that we see a lack of commitment to transparency and accountability. What I am asking is that we correct our course and we align ourselves with best practices in all areas of operation and management of our town's resources, our human resources, our tax dollar resources, and our natural resources. We don't need to place any blame or necessarily investigate how we came to this place, but we do need to take corrective action now and in the future. The town officials ask residents to trust them with their tax dollars, but cannot show evidence that those tax dollars are being used correctly. We trust what we verify, and in these cases, we cannot verify because there is no paper trail to show that due diligence was performed in any step of the process. So I hope that you take it into consideration to focus more on getting contracts with service level agreements that protects both us and our vendors, as well as our employees. So thank you.
Okay. All right, anybody else at this point? How about let the solar guy come up?
Anyone go in solar? Okay. But more solar. you're only got one issue, there's like five of us on one issue.
Yeah, I
Five
understand.
should go over one, shouldn't it?
Hey, sir, come on up, I understand that. I'm quite sure that gentleman is gonna fix me on also, but I understand the solar, come on up.
I don't know.